And when you asked yourself that question, what were the answers you got?
The first one that shocked me was, you're not doing it for them. You're not doing it to make their life better. You're doing it for them to see you in a better light. You're doing it for their approval. You're doing it for their validation. It's not really about their careers. It's how you want them to think about you in their minds about their careers. It wasn't about their success. It was how I looked to them. And I was like, so it's that was
Wow, that
hard.
is huge.
That was hard for
Not
me.
only is that huge, but that is very difficult thing to come to realization yourself because every part of your ego will be resisting that, right? It will not want you to see that. So for you to see that truth and then accept it, like that is a what happened when you saw that? I'm getting shivers now. I think what happens when you saw that and what did you go? I cannot tolerate this anymore. I have to change. And what did you do?
Yes, those are one of the first truths of just saying, no, you're not doing this for like you're not doing it's not in service. It's not nothing beautiful like you want to paint in your head. It's a selfish thing. It's manipulation at best. And I was, oh, damn it. Okay. Why am I doing it then? As in, why do I need them to approve? Like, why do I need that from them? Why can I not have it from me? Why do I need them to approve me? And then that's when I was like, okay, something has to change.
Hi, I'm Debbie Thompson, and this is A Stone in My Shoe, the podcast where we explore how midlife can become the most true, purposeful, and fulfilling chapter yet when we begin to listen to what's really there. And today's guest is Nyasha Gwena, and she's from the UK. She's an entrepreneur, investor, and a founder of Allied Wealth and Kosha. Her work explores the intersection of identity, wealth, and human potential, helping people close the gap between the life they envision and the life they are currently living. Through her businesses, writing, and AI powered ecosystems, Nyasha helps founders and creators build lives and ventures that are aligned with who they truly are. At the heart of her work is a very simple question. Why do some people fully step into their potential while others spend their lives sensing there is more within them, waiting to be expressed? Welcome, Nyasha. Can I call you Nye?
Yes, you can,
Thank
Debbie.
you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having me. Thank you so much for having me. And I loved that introduction. You actually pronounced my name perfectly as well. So
I'm I
glad.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And the interesting thing, Nyasha and I, or Naya and I were talking earlier, and she came to the UK when she was 14 and lived in Zimbabwe. And I
Oh,
came to the UK when I was 15 and I lived in South Africa. So similar kind of emigration north.
yes, migrating north, and I love that. I love that connection point as well. We're like neighbors.
We're like
We
neighbors.
definitely are neighbors.
Yes, citizens of the world.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So let's get to know you a little and just ground this for the woman who's listening in. As she hears your story today, what do you hope she begins to see or understand about herself?
Ooh, I pray that as I transmit and express myself, that she begins to feel and know that she is a limitless being, right? And that when she moves fully anchored in her essence, anything, literally anything is possible. But even greater still, that which she was designed for is possible. So that is what I pray I can transmit today. Possibility, infinite possibility.
Infinite possibility. That sounds so all encompassing, almost so amazing that it's like, how is that possible? Sure, you're going to unpack because
Yeah.
limitless potential, it sounds wonderful. And so
It sounds wonderful.
yeah, okay, good. So before we talk about the stone in the shoe, because that's what you're here to do today, who are you in this season of your life and what feels the most important to you right now?
Oh, I love this question, Debbie. Oh, thank you. Thank you for this. who am I in this season? So, funny enough, I go through like over the last 2 years now, I do what I call seasonal intentions. I set an intention for a season to actualize a certain aspect of myself. And like I said, because I really now move anchored in the truth that I am connected to all, and because I am all is possible. So I tend to reach for the next identity that life is asking me to stabilize. So currently, I'm in the season where I'm stabilizing what I call the converter. I've been building and receiving transmissions on this new era of my business life, which is aligned well. But where I'm at in the season is stabilizing what I call the converter, the transmitter, someone who can take what she has built to market and convert it and make sure it translates well to the woman I'm supposed to serve. So it lands. It stops just being this beautiful idea and actually can become something that truly serves and brings transformation to people that it's designed to serve. So the converter is who I'm stabilizing right now. Not just a builder
Oh,
anymore. I'm here to convert, to
I
really
love
take what I
that.
built to market. Yes.
And I love the fact that you do the seasonal work and set these goals. And a season could be a literal season, or a
Yes.
season could be a period of years. It doesn't have to just be
Yes.
defined by that because some seasons are longer than others, and sometimes
Yes.
building might take different. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't have to be so rigid with ourselves and what a
Yes.
season is and what we should have accomplished by now, but
Yes.
rather let it flow
Let it
and
flow.
open to all possibilities.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. And I literally now see that the perfect design of life is cyclical. And I love that word rigid because I think for a lot of us, we can be so stuck in one way or form of being that we don't open ourselves up to the flow of life because life wants to flow through us, it wants to express through us. But if we're so hung up on this is who I am and you limit yourself to that definition, you can't be open enough to receive the next emergence and allow it to come through you. So that's why I really like to stay rooted in the cyclical nature of life and stay open to okay, what else wants to express itself through me? Oh, now I'm supposed to be building. Fantastic. Let me focus and build. Oh, now I'm transmitting. Let me focus and transmit. Now I'm playing. I'll play and I'll play for sure. Or
And I guess looking back, because you're in your mid to late 30s now,
37 years.
37, looking
Yeah.
amazing. And looking back over, there must have been many seasons, many versions of yourself,
Absolutely.
to be able to go, that was me then, but this is me
Hmm.
now. And it's okay to grow. You don't have to hold on rigidly to who you
Yes.
think you were, or because coming from Zimbabwe and then moving to England, there's so many cultural things, family things,
Exactly.
ancestral things that
Yes.
make us think that's who we are. And yet there's so
100%.
much more.
Yet there is so much more. Absolutely. And one of the things that I know some people struggle with, I always read, say, on social media or in culture, and people say, oh, she stayed the same. And that's meant to be like an endearing thing or a good thing. And I'm always like, for me, I want you to say I've changed because I want to live out all potential that exist in me. So I don't ever want to be the same Nyasha that you imagined from 10 years ago. No, I want you to say, wow, what is this new version? Yes, because I'm constantly reaching for more, genuinely. So I enjoy the metamorphosis, if we can call it that, of life and living. And yeah, I always feel like you go through seasons of being, what is it, the caterpillar, and then you become the cocoon, then you butterfly away, and then you come back to your cocoon, the caterpillar. Da, da, da. It's constantly like that. That's how it is. You're constantly evolving and it's cyclical. So
And I love that image because I think so often we just want to be the butterfly. And sometimes we have to go back and be
mhm.
the cocoon and the period of perhaps not contraction, because I don't really like that word, but a period of going inwards and searching and consolidating and whatever it is to then come out. And it's okay, all of those. The whole thing is it is a meta and it's a constant. It's not just once. That's it. My
No
wings are
one.
here. And if you've got the wrong wings, tough beans, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. It's you're constantly going through it. And this is again like why I'm saying I love how nature has or life itself is perfectly designed to teach us this fact. There are 4 seasons in a year, and I like working with those seasons. So the Nyasha I am during winter you cannot reach me. I'm in hibernation fully. I'm inward. I'm fully inward. But in summer, I'm like, yeah, let's go outside. Let's do what outside wants. I'm more open. I'm more willing, no, not willing, but I'm more open. And I feel like my energy is more expansive and it has more capacity to engage with other energy. But in wintertime, I'm very much inward. I don't have my battery is wanting to charge up from my solitude. That's how I am. And so I allow myself that to say, no, this is my rhythm. This is my life's rhythm. And I have to honor it. I can't be on all the time. You
And that's what's so beautiful, what you just said, is I honor my rhythms and I honor how I'm feeling, because I think so many of us don't honor, because sometimes we don't even see it, or we're expected to push through, or
yeah,
it's something that we think, and we will talk about this, is that
yeah,
that is what you do. You are on, constantly on, always achieving, always working, because that's what life is. So that was, thank you for bringing that up. So let's talk about the stone in your shoe.
yes.
And if you could name the stone, what would it be called and what would it be what would it look like?
Oh, let me just see how to name it simply. My stone was, if I could say, neglecting and sacrificing Nyasha for her dreams. So, who I was being in pursuit of my dreams was everything my dream needed, everything I had to be for it, but to the detriment of Nyasha. Nyasha was last on the list to check into. I never checked into Nyasha. So I would literally, I think, yeah, I was self sacrificial. I was self betraying all the time. My yeses were not in alignment with me. They were what I felt people needed from me to get ahead. So to get ahead, I was always happy to take more from Nyasha than I needed to. That was the biggest stone. So yeah, self-sacrificial to a fault, to a fault.
Wow, and that's really interesting, because what you said there, which was for many people would be quite confusing, is self-sacrificing Nyasha in pursuit of her dreams, which is
Mhm.
an oxymoron, because you're going for your dreams and yet you're sacrificing. So just tell me a bit more about that, because that
What it looks
sounds
like.
kind of contradictory, doesn't it?
I know. So, and this is the thing. This is why, for me, I think it took a long time. It took me, I think, almost 20 years because I was one of those young people that I was born knowing what I wanted to do with my life so clearly. But I lived in a culture or in a family that dream just, what do you mean? We were supposed to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, something professional, right? And yet I had a passion for the arts. I had a passion for culture and identity from a very young age was something that I just had these questions about life, right? But that wasn't a viable career path at all. Then I always like to say, then thankfully, life said, she's going to relocate to the UK. And when I came to the UK, I saw that arts, entertainment is a real business. And I was like, no, look, it's possible. So now for me, my soul is going, it definitely is possible, but my environment is saying still it's a no, still it's a no. So I've always felt like I was going against the grain, if I can call it that. And I was always fighting my family, fighting life, fighting everybody to have and be who I wanted to be. And I was a very expressive teenager. My hair was colorful, that sort of thing. But again, so I think to a lot of my family, I was like a problem child. But in reality, I was just more in tune with me. So because for a very long time, I constantly felt like I was fighting. I think after a while, you start to dim that to say, okay, I want to get up because at the core of me also is a connected being. I want to have connection. I want to have community around me and I want to be loved. Absolutely. So there was a slow dimming of my light to stay in the fold, to stay in community with others. But at some point, I think my with the way things evolved in our family, I was able to pursue business and music. So I did a joint honors degree. So that was like our compromise as a family because I was a little bit of a terror. I did give them a little bit of a fight. Like I fought for my version of a career. And then that sent me. So after 3 years of my degree, I was able now to do what I wanted to do. I built a music label, I built a record label, I relocated to Zim. So I was technically in my dream, but my patterns of being were people pleasing, approval, desperate for validation, because that was the pattern I'd encoded for getting ahead. If I want to have it, I have to think if this is what I want, but how can I have it with mom's approval? How can I make sure mom still co-signs or dad co-signs? So there was always a compromising me for the sake of getting it, but the way to get it was making it okay for them to say yes, that sort of thing. So
So interesting. So interesting.
yeah,
So you were pursuing your dream, but there
yeah,
were caveats to it
they were
because you had to please your family. I get it because I come from a very similar family. There were like five career options available. That was it. And if not, you were letting everybody down. And there's a part of you you want to belong. And so, do you think the tree that you were climbing, your dreams, was the right tree? It's just that you were in all the wrong clothes. Let that be all the things, the wrong shoes, and so the climb was so hard, and you kept falling and hurting yourself and neglecting yourself, kind of climbing the right tree. Would that be a right analogy?
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely say that I was definitely on purpose, I could
Yeah.
say, for that season. Because again, I think one of the hardest things for, like, when I look back and say the curriculum I signed up for as a soul was interesting for myself, I was never gonna do something that that my heart wasn't in. That it just was impossible for me. It was impossible for me. But I had encoded struggle as and compromise as and sacrifice as the price you pay to have your dream. So though I was definitely living on in my purpose, I was building a career in the industry I wanted to work in. I was in the countries I wanted to be working from. I was trailblazing in that way, and I felt, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. But in my mind, yeah, so of course I had to struggle. Of course I had to literally, I would get out, like I would make money, but I was the last person to pay myself. Like I would keep reinvesting. I would deplete myself entirely for the thing to happen, because in my coding, I think deep down, it definitely was, you matter last because the dream is bigger than you. I don't know. Weirdly, that's
No,
something.
that makes perfect sense, and I think so many people believe that striving and achieving can only happen when you sacrifice by working hard, by giving up things. It's like you have to sacrifice to be successful. It has to be hard. It has to be hard work. So you're right. It's encoded in our DNA, and I don't know about you, but in my family, that was definitely encoded in my parents' DNA and their parents' DNA. And I don't know further because I don't really know, but I'm sure it was encoded and it was just passed down. And I guess
Mhm.
eventually you go, hang on, this is not my coding. I'm
No.
living someone else's coding.
Yes, 100%. And for me, it's interesting because when I finally, what we can call, the stone became too much to bear, was I remember just having 48 hours of crying nonstop. And I was like, okay, let's just look at this. We left the UK, we left our relationship, because I was in a 4-year committed relationship with someone. And I said, you know what, I need to pursue Yasha. And this is not longer moving in alignment with where I want to go. So I felt, okay, I've left my relationship. I've left the family in the UK. I'm on my own here in this country, and I'm breaking into a new look, I was from Zimbabwe, but I'd been living in the UK for the last 15 years. So it felt like I'm breaking the country again, because I'm now trying to actually build a business. I'm around people I don't know who don't really care about me other than the money I bring to their table. Literally. We're not friends, we're acquaintances brought together by business. I'm the main investor in this, but really these people are not, they don't really have my interests at heart. So yeah, so I had this weekend where I was just crying, and it felt like every single year it's like a stop-start cycle, and the common denominator is me. At the end of the day, people are coming in and I'm firing people, I'm firing talent, I'm rebuilding my business from scratch. What is going on? What is going on? And yeah, I just had this just, we can't continue like this. If nothing changes, we're out. It was like all of my being was just like, we are done. If nothing changes, we don't want to continue because this is not what we signed up for. This is not the version of success or building or anything. This is not the vision. This is not the dream we have anymore.
So this period where you were literally just crying, where your body was like, Nyasha, I have to tell you this is not working. We
Yeah.
need to. Looking back from that point, was your intuition telling you that? Was the stone trying to squeeze your foot to say, Nyasha, you need to change, you need to change? And if so, what did that look like? And how long had that stone been hurting your foot, so to speak?
Oh, that stone was hurting my foot since, and it veered its head in interesting ways, but then I wasn't reading it clearly. I wasn't reading the pain or the signal clearly. Like when I think back to even negotiating with my parents about the career I wanted to do, those are the first points where so initially before I ended up doing the degree that I did, I said, okay, fine, I'll do the degree that you want. And then when I finish, I can then go back into doing what I want to do. So for the first 2 years of my what do you call it, undergrad year, I was doing a degree my parents had chosen. And then I couldn't do it anymore. I just was so depressed. And then I stopped going to uni and then I started working full time. So I had moments where I would compromise entirely. And then eventually not to say burnout, but then you check out, you just check out. So I checked out back then. Then when I was in a relationship with this guy, I checked out again because I was like, no, this is not it. I want to do what I want to do. Like, how are we now trying to make it that I should compromise my whole career to make our relationship work? Because he was presenting an ultimatum. And I was like, no, no, I'm not going to do that. And then now I'm in Zimbabwe, and every single year I'm almost coming to loggerheads with people. So one of my biggest, if I could say, shortcomings then was I wasn't always good at advocating for me and making it non-negotiable. I was very good at pacifying and compromising. Okay, I can push this back for 6 months so I can do this and then earn my right to do that. Because now you know that, oh, Nyasha is playing ball. So therefore let's support her in this way. And that's the thing. I was never good at saying, what are my boundaries? What are my yeses? What are my nos? And what am I willing to do, even if it means I'm going to do it myself? I was very scared of striking out on my own. I was very scared of standing completely in my own truth. So a lot of the time, that stone kept tipping, kept like literally turning on my soul. And it kept pushing me to say, dude, who are you? Because each time you come against someone else, you go, okay, fine, we'll do it your way, and then we'll come back to this. Or okay, fine, we can forget it, and then we'll do that instead.
So this stone was there for a fair amount of time, from your late teens through to a good 20 years, and it was telling you, giving you some feedback, sometimes I'm sure fairly sharp feedback.
Oh,
And then
sharp.
and
A good
it
10 years, yeah, from like I would say 17 to 30, because 30 is when I
okay.
was just like, no, I'm done. I'm done.
So what was the point that you were like, that's it, I'm done? Do you think it was a build up, or do you think it was a moment in time, or what do you think happened?
It was a build up, but then the final turning point was this weekend where my whole being, I was just crying nonstop. I couldn't stop crying. I just couldn't stop crying. But the visual I had that day, that weekend was I had booked out my artists on my label for a month. I'd paid all the expenses. We had booked out an apartment, and I had put them in a what we called a writing camp, a production camp.
Mhm.
But I literally had taken my last bit of savings to make this last effort of let's make this next project happen. But I had maybe not calculated things properly, but now I was overrun, overspent, and people were not, it looked like to me at that time, people were not moving at the pace I needed them to move at because they don't have the pressure I have. They don't know the reality that I've taken all my life savings at this point to make this thing happen. They don't have that context. And one of my pain points is I'm one of those people who, if I want things to get done, they need to get done now, not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Speed is my MO. And when everybody else is moving at, yeah, kumbaya speed, woo, that infuriates me. So this weekend, I just had the realizing we were now on week 3, and I still didn't have any solid productions. And I was realizing that at the end of this week, at the end of the coming week, if we don't have anything concrete, Nyasha, we're not going to make it to the end of the year. and we won't be able to financially sustain what it is that we're running anymore. We're going to have to close down. And I was thinking, I can't close down because that means I failed. And it means I have to go back to the UK. And I don't want to go back to the UK. I don't want to tell my parents, because everyone is going to say, we told you, we told you. So this was all culminating into what are you actually doing? And I
Gosh,
was,
that is a lot of parts of Nyasha talking to you. The one that says you can't fail, the one that says I needed to please the person, the one that has said I needed to be good enough, the one that says I need to control everything, the one that
yeah,
says you need to be working hard to be successful. And all of these parts getting a piece of you. No wonder you or your body just went, no,
we're
stick
done.
it out.
And yeah, it was. And one of the questions at that point was I looked around and all these people, because everything was paid for, and all they had to do was sing songs in a record studio. That's all they had to do in my mind. That's all you have to, the last thing is just to sing songs. And I was just like, Nyasha, these people, you can skin yourself and they'll say, oh, we need some, you can skin yourself to keep them warm. And they'll still say that's not enough. We need your blood to quench our thirst. And then you're going to beat yourself dry. And then they're going to say, oh, that's not enough. We need your bones now to make a fire. You literally, that's how visceral it was. It was like literally. And then after you've given them everything, they'll be like, there's nothing else to take. Let's go look for a new manager. Literally. So what are you killing yourself for? So that was the biggest question that I had to face up to say, what are you doing all of this for? What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove it to? Why are you killing yourself? And
And
I
what did
never
you,
asked myself that question before.
and when you asked yourself that question, what were the answers you got?
Oh, the first one that shocked me was you're not doing it for them. You're not doing it to make their life better. You're doing it for them to see you in a better light. You're doing it for their approval. You're doing it for their validation. It's not really about their careers. It's how you want them to think about you in their minds about their careers. It wasn't about their success. It was how I look to them. And I was like, so it's that was
Wow, that
hard.
is huge.
That was hard for
Not
me.
only is that huge, but that is a very difficult thing to come to the realization yourself because every part of your ego will be resisting that, right? It will not want you to see that. So for you to see that truth and then accept it, that is a hot. What happened when you saw that? I'm getting shivers now. I think what happens when you saw that and what did you go? I cannot tolerate this anymore. I have to change. And what did you do?
Oh, yes. So, so what? Those are one of the first truths of just saying, no, you're not doing this for. You're not doing. It's not in service. It's not nothing beautiful like you want to paint in your head. It's a selfish thing. It's manipulation at best. And I was like, oh, damn it. Okay, why am I doing it then? As in, why do I need them to approve? Like, why do I need that from them? Why can I not have it from me? Why do I need them to approve me? And then that's when I was like, okay, something has to change because I know this is not it. I know this is not how my story ends. I'm not going to accept this as the way Nyasha's story ends. And I was like,
So,
okay,
Nasha, can
what?
I just ask you a question there? When you said why, did an answer come to you, or was this part of your journey to understand why you needed the validation from them?
That was now part of the journey. So in that moment, I didn't have the answer immediately, but the truth landed cleanly to say, this is not about them. This is your desperation, your desperate need for this annulation, whatever you're calling it, whatever you want to package it, it's a you thing. And they're just, so it would take maybe a year for me to officially start real conscious inner work, like inner reflective work, where I was really doing inner engineering, going reconstructing my stories to myself. But that was turning point because I knew that okay, I'm gonna get up from this weekend and everything is gonna change. Because I don't like the version of Nyasha that I am. Because at that point, I'd never had drunk before, but I started drinking when I was 27 at that point because I was just struggling to cope with my reality in Zim. I was now smoking. So I didn't like that version of Nyasha. I was like, this is not me. But I'm doing all of this as a way to cope with the stress that I'm manufacturing myself. What the heck is this? That sort of thing. So that was just this resolve to get back to center. I didn't have that language then, but I just knew that, okay, I need to get in touch with Nyasha to really know Nyasha. Why does she need that approval? Why? And that
And
was like
when
a question.
amazing. And so did you then go back from Zim to the UK?
Not immediately. So after that weekend, I just had the next 6 months, I was still in Zim. And no, not just 6 months. So the next 3 months from that point, I relocated from the apartment that I was living in the city to a detached property in the suburbs. So I just got a self-contained detached property, and I was like, that felt again like an aligned choice. Now I can see that was a very aligned choice. So it allowed me more spaciousness and more time to myself. But then interestingly, COVID also then began as soon as I moved into that property. So I was like, thank God for this, because I needed a break. And I would have never given myself a break. So COVID, I always say, was a gift to me. I know a lot of people lost their lives during COVID, and I know it disrupted a lot of things for others and other families. But for me, it was the gift I didn't even know I needed. And that was when I really started taking more time in my mornings to just tune into me, because I had never done that since I was born. I'd never really taken time out. And slowly things are happening. And then eventually in October, that's when I then moved to the UK. And then I stayed in the UK up until now. I was just like, no, let me take this time. This is COVID. I can afford to stay here. I don't have to go back to Zim. My business can still run, but I don't have to physically be there. Let me be where I feel safer, because this is where my family was, where I know I'm loved and I can process what's happening and really get back to myself again. Because yeah,
So
I felt
it was a slow process. And what I'm hearing from you is one of the really key things was time and this time gift that you were given. So, because I think so often we're so busy doing, and often we do to numb the pain, right? So we stay busy to do it. But that was taken away. Number one, your stone was like, that's it, you have to do something
that.
different. And then you started listening to yourself, and it was rituals, time in the morning. Did you do any other more structured meditation or somatic healing, or how did that just talk about all the
My journey.
modalities that you used to get your to get you so that you actually had time to go, who am I and where am I in this world and what is really important to me?
Yes, thank you for that question. Whew. So my initial healing started when I was still in Zim. I was introduced to an African spiritual teacher. So one of the things also in my journey is I had unsubscribed, if I can call it that, from Christianity early on. So I was not a religious person, but I had this question of identity and spirituality from a very young age. I just knew there was more to life than dogma and doctrine. I don't know. My spirit wasn't satisfied with religion at that time. So when I was in Zim, one of the core explorations, I always was like, at some point, I want to get reconnected to my ancestors. I want to get reconnected to my ancestors. I've always had that knowing. And then all of a sudden in 2020, when I moved to my property, to this detached property, I was introduced again by alignment and chance to this African spiritual teacher. And I started my journey with him for ancestral reconnection. And we did about maybe 6 sessions with him before I then left for the UK. And it took me into the most delicious encounters with my ancestral lineage. And that is for the first time where I realized in a full felt sense that I am more than a physical body. And that was a big turning point for my sense of identification. It was such a life affirming, but also, my goodness, there's so much more that you're not tapping into. There's so much more of this existence that you've been closed up from. Now that you're opening up to it, my goodness, can you just imagine what's on the other side? So, my appetite for really aligning with spirit was so great because of that ancestral reconnection. For the first time, I felt loved, I felt supported powerfully, not just from a when people just say, "Oh, I love you." No, I felt supported powerfully. And I felt God knew me by name. That was a massive feeling that I never had in my whole life. I was just like, wow. So when I came back to the UK in 2020, I was so resolute. I was like, and I'm again, maybe I'm a Capricorn, I'm a very structured person. The way I go at business is I was like, the way you went about business, we're gonna go about your soul. That's literally what I committed to myself. I was like, we're gonna put us on a nice regimen daily where you were waking up and you're spending 12 hours on people's business. We're gonna spend 10, 12 hours on our business and our soul business. So I so one of the first teachers I came across was Abraham Hicks. I was obsessed with her work, and I would literally just binge listen. I would be going on walks or just working, listening to it. Then with Abraham Hicks, I purchased some of her books and or some of their books, and I was reading that. And then I discovered Dr. Miles Monroe, who is a big teacher on purpose and mission. Why are you here? Why are you here? Because the first question was, who am I? But my next bigger question was, why am I here? Okay, if I'm a spirit, if I'm a soul, why am I here? And through those two, because I think I studied them back to back daily for a year, but I was reading a lot of literature in between because I was now very in tune with spirit. I would sit in my meditation and say, okay, spirit, what am I ready to know now? I'm open to receive. Open to receive. And this was when I say I was religious with it, I was. Every single morning, I had my morning ritual and my evening, and I also had an evening ritual. And my 8 hours in between when I'm alive and open to be with people, I was so disciplined about what I was doing and I was tracking what I was doing. And I was really like working through my habits because I was very determined to quit smoking, quit drinking, quit all those things. So yeah, it was a very structured program. So my modalities were meditation was non-negotiable for me. And it's still non-negotiable for me because I feel like for the type of person I am, I just need to wake up centered. I need to move through the day anchored. And if I don't do that, say for 4 or 5 days in a row, I start to feel a bit wobbly. I'm like, I'm losing connection with soul. I'm losing connection with signal. Come on, we need to go back.
Do you know what's so interesting what you're saying here is that when you're not just a body, but you're a soul and you're connected to everything. And now you've got your intuition to bring in to play with you. And it's
Mm.
almost like a new muscle. It's like you're going to the gym, right?
Yes,
And you have got to get that intuition because you don't just, we're all intuitive. We're all
yes,
children of God. We're all connected, but
yes,
we have to get that muscle working. And
yes,
it's like anything. If you go to the gym more and you exercise that much more, it's going to happen quicker, or
yes.
you stay in that
Longer.
yeah, you stay in there longer and you stay more centered, and then the more synchronicities come. Whereas if you only do it every now and then, meditate every 5 days, yeah, you'll go in and out. It's like going to the gym. It's like anything. Your muscle will get as strong as you put in. Now, not everyone has the amount of time or probably has the same curiosity, but also has the same kind of work ethic as you. So even if you do a small amount, as long as it's consistent,
Consistent.
that is the
Yes.
key, is to know that it's a new muscle that you are
That's
working
your
with
training.
and you're
Yes.
training, and be kind to yourself, because when you go to the gym, some days it works and some days you're just exhausted and tired and whatever. So I think that's a really important thing, is to be consistent, to set your goals, to know who you want to be, to read, to be curious, because everybody's journey is slightly different in terms of what
Yes.
modality really speaks to you.
Yes, yes, 100%. And and that part, what you've just said about the consistency, I think that is what it's about. And I think now more and more I recognize that it's when you just decide who you are. Like I think the biggest flick in my mind was identifying first as spirit, then as a body. No, first as spirit, then as a mind, and then as a body. That was like my hierarchy of identification. And I would ask myself if, as a body, I need to sleep and eat to function, what as a mind do I need to do for me to function at my best? And what as a spirit do I need to do to function at my best? So I then learned that I need to breathe better. I need to just breathe better. I need to breathe more. I need to connect to source. And if I'm a mind, I need to read and expand it and imagine and stay curious. What do I need to do as a spirit first? Everything. And I just decided that, yeah, breathing is part of the thing because it's expanding your vessel. Then there is connection to spirit, connection to source, because that's where I get the directive. And I would always back then imagine that, okay, maybe I am the car, but the navigation is spirit. So when I know when I it gives me the coordinates, okay, we're going to Scotland and this is the route. The sat nav gives me the route. I'm not gonna say, oh no, we shouldn't be turning left here, we should be turning right. No, I've already surrendered that spirit is navigating. But for me to know where it's navigating me to next, I need to keep tapping in. I need to keep coming back to the navigation tool. So that's a way that I trick my mind into this new way of being to say, yeah, and I think for me, the pain and the memory of the version of life outside of alignment to spirit was so vivid. I could feel it. If I close my eyes, I can taste how difficult life was. I can remember that 48-hour weekend where I was just done. I can remember the company I had at the time. I'm just like, no, I don't want to go there. So if this is me tracking the in a new direction, I'm gonna go all in on this. I'm gonna go all
Beautiful. I love the all in, and I can see you're definitely an all in person. So, what I'm interested in is when you first came to is I need this validation from other people. As you
Yes.
did all this work, I'm interested to see the parts of you that needed nourishing and nurturing to know that they were loved and okay, like the people pleasing, why you were doing that, why you needed the validation. What of all this work, what came out? What did you learn about yourself?
That fundamentally my core wound was I didn't believe I was good enough. That was the fundamental core wound. And once I remember the day that clarity was like, oh, it felt so liberating. Ah, this is what we've been doing, girl. I got you. Almost felt like that. And I remember, so I knew that it was a self-worth thing. There was a self-esteem and not even self-esteem, it was a self-worth wound that I was working with. And again, because I'm such a structured person, once I am clear on what it is that I'm working with, I then can look for the right tools that will help rebuild something. Like to your point with the exercise, if you know I want to get abs, you know what core exercises give you abs. You're not just going to be doing cardio, you're going to be doing your sit ups. So now that I was clear on what I was working with, I was like, what is the best way to build self worth? And I was like, what is, if I was a financer and I was a banker and I had to build someone's net worth, their investment portfolio, how would I go about it? I want to use the same principles to go about building my self-worth. Literally, this is what I was doing. So yes, as I did definitely there was a program that I did called To Be Magnetic by Lacey Phillips. It was a 12-month program, and she had inner child work in there, unblocking your inner child and reconnecting with inner child work. She had, yeah, a lot of unblocking work, and I self-love piece, of course, and an authentic connecting with your authentic code is what she would call it, your authentic self. And I was like, yeah, I don't really think I've ever moved authentically because I needed to please everybody else. So that's not authentic. So I was now very much aware of these things. But then the other bigger piece was I started working out, and my workouts were not even from I need to lose weight. That's not the thing that I received. It was just I want to make it more consistent. And for me, working out was a way to tell my body I loved her because I had been very rude to my body. I would just get her to do anything. I had been very unloving to my body. I was very self-destructive for a 3-year period when I was in Zim. So this was my way of saying I love you to her. And I was like, okay, we need to move because the body wants to be moved. The way my spirit now wants nourishment through exhale and through meditation, body wants to be moved. And I committed myself to a 10 minutes a day commitment. I was like, just 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. You can do yoga, you can walk, but 10 minutes is all we're asking. So when I first started doing that, I started cycling. And the thing about cycling, which I didn't realize, was it feels powerful when you're going up a hill and you're like having to work against resistance. It feels so powerful and so freeing at the same time, because especially when you're going downhill and just, oh my God, I'm out here in the open. So cycling, I started doing beyond 10 minutes. I started going for an hour sometimes, just out on the road. Sometimes I'll do an hour and a half. And now where I started just doing a mile, I was now doing 15 miles of just pure cycling. And that for me was the biggest transformative journey as far as self-worth was concerned, because the mind had been saying, I'm not good enough. But now the mind started saying, I can do anything I put my mind to. And I was like, yeah. And then he started saying, I can do anything I value and decide is worthy of me. And I was like, yeah. So now my body was in agreement, my mind was in agreement. So that idea of not good enough it just evaporated. Like
That
literally, because I had real statistics to back up who I now was. I was a woman who could do anything.
That's wonderful that told that story, because I think it is so important that we do have these three parts of ourselves. And our mind, we think, is in control, but our conscious mind has what, 5% of the real estate.
Exactly.
95% is in your subconscious, which is all these things buried in you, in your body, in your feelings. And once you saw that core wound and you knew what you were working with, you could go in and really focus in on that. And I think for so many women, the feeling of I'm not good enough is so common. It's just so
It's so
common.
common. Yeah.
And it could have, thing our parents said once, a teacher said, a friend, and then you start believing, and then you start validating yourself, correct. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that you broke it into those little things, 10 minutes a day. It's not like I'm going to run a marathon. I'm telling you, I love you. I'm doing 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of reading spiritual stuff, or just meditating, or just being in nature. It's just telling your spirit, I love you. And it's little things. This wasn't just a leap. You woke up one day and went, oh, that's it. This was a
Mm.
journey,
Gradual. Yeah.
gradual, and you layer upon layer, and the onion was unpeeling, and you saw parts of yourself. And as the onion's unpeeling and you're seeing all the parts that needed nourishment and love, the other things are building and your mind is building. So it's working in both ways. The roots are getting deeper and the tree
Deeper.
is blossoming, and it has to
Mm.
almost happen at the same time for
Mm.
sustainability. So I love that. So now you've done this work. Where are you now, and how to live differently now that all of this has been done?
Oh, so one of the biggest things also was there's a book I read called The Untethered Soul, and that book spoke to me so deeply because I was at the earlier parts of my journey having this disconnection of who I had been and who I felt like I was being summoned to next. And I had this guilt of, oh, but I can't just leave this. So we sometimes when spirit starts summoning you towards the next destination, I think a lot of us have that dissonance in us to say, how do I just let go of what I've built so far? How do I just switch, almost like switch overnight and say, I'm no longer this person, I'm now that person? But that book really was liberating and freeing and empowering to me to say, that is the whole point. That is actually the whole point. Learn to be a free, untethered being. Because that's, like I said earlier, that's how you stay open to the next iteration or to the next chapter that life wants to move with you into. So one of the biggest shifts I had done, and I feel like this is probably how life works, is you have to let go to receive the next thing. So I had archived my talent agency. And then eventually I decided, no, I'm no longer a talent manager. I'm not. So I just said, no, I'm no longer an entertainment executive. I no longer work with musicians in this way. So I completely closed that down. But then I kept my music distribution side because that's it's a catalog I'm happy to keep growing. And I officially closed down my physical operations in Zim. So my home that I had there, I packed it up, I closed it down, and I was like, okay, I'm in an island situation right now. I want to be open and I'm in transition. I don't know what's next. And so whenever people will be like, so what do you do now? I'm like, I'm just open. I'm just open to life. I'm in transition. I don't know. There's nothing I'm doing right now. I'm just healing in my cave and listening to life. And it was very uncomfortable at first because there's a pressure that I think we sometimes have where you feel you need to yeah, we're identified by what we do, not who we are a lot of the time. And yeah, people will be like, that doesn't make sense. You need to be doing something. I'm thinking, no, I know I eventually something may come, but right now there's nothing. I'm run down and I'm allowing myself to rebuild, and I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that decision. But it wasn't
That's
until
Sorry, I was going to say that's incredibly profound, because saying something like that, society and people around you doesn't accept that easily. But to be so aligned and so grounded that you could own it and say it and go, it's okay. I don't need to control where I'm going next. Let's see what unfolds. And that
Yeah.
does come when you do the work.
When you
So
do the
that
work.
sense of peace and that sense of safety and belonging, and the universe has got my back. I will be fine.
I
Yeah.
will be fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
100%.
so just before we finish off, for the message for the woman listening, you've told the story. You started off saying she could do anything. I can't remember the words you used, but you're capable of so much more than you ever imagined. The universe. What would you like to leave her with? If she's in the same position as you, something's off. I'm not listening to myself. I want to align myself, feel more spirit, not worry that I'm not following someone else's path. What would you say to her?
Oh, like you've rightly noted for my journey, it wasn't a one day thing. It's a collection of seasons that brought me to this truth now to just say you have to fully allow yourself the beautiful experience that is life when you move connected to all that you are, to all that you are. And yes, the programming is such that everybody else is tuned into limitation. But the infinite being that you are, the eternal being that you are, and that's why for me, who I am begins at spirit. It doesn't begin with Nyasha, the 3D Black African girl. No, that's just the personality and the packaging I gave myself in this incarnation. I genuinely don't see myself as a 3D being. I am an infinite, eternal being. And the more we allow ourselves to say, what if that is truly who I am? Just allow yourself that beautiful imagination. What if that is truly who I am? And then devote yourself to exploring that possibility and nourishing that possibility and almost like strengthening that reality because that is truly who you are. Everything else is we're here to play, but then the play can only become fun if you're moving from the truth of your being, not from the limited projection, but the truth of that being.
I love that. What if? To ask that question, what if, and get curious
And get
and
curious.
be open and then nourish it. I love it. Devotion, nourishment, and strengthening. So, first question would be, what if that was true? Give that some thought. I love that. Being curious, to me, courageous and curious are two things I find such a companion to me as well. So anyway, we have a question that we ask all our guests. If today was your last day on earth, what would you do and why?
Oh, let me imagine my last year. Hold on, what would I do and why? Oh, oh, ha, oh, that's a beautiful question, Terry. I'm like, hold on a minute. What would I do if today was my last day? I would probably, I would have woken up super early. If I knew today was my last day, I would have woken up super early. I would have woken up at 4. And because that allows me the spaciousness to process myself and then write a beautiful letter to humanity and then another letter to my family, right? Just to make sure that it's not that what I honestly, because I want to make sure by the time I leave this earth that the transmission of radical alignment and infinite possibility is not lost on people, that they understand that this is what my life came to transmit. And yeah, just to remind them, just to leave a letter that reminds and leaves people in the beautiful knowledge of that. And then I'll probably go to the river, commune with my spirit guides. I would swim for a bit because I love the water so much and come back, shower, and if possible, stay in my little cave for the rest of the day. honestly, because I love solitude. So after transmitting, I'll just come in, tune in, and rest, and just allow life to take me to the next destination. I'm like, all right, I'm open, I'm ready. Let's do this.
I can just see how passionate you are about getting this idea of infinite possibility out to people. I can really feel it. And what you've given me in this conversation today is just what if to really ask those questions and to really tune into this infinite possibilities and this beautiful life and to ask those questions. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for your vulnerability.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And I pray that I was coherent enough and I didn't waffle too much. But then I feel like there's something I didn't quite land on because the question you asked about where am I at in this chapter, and I was tracking where I was then when I said I stopped everything. I untethered from a lot. But then today, aligned wealth is where I'm at. So it's this thing that I'm now beaming out, working with founders and working with women who are ready to live on purpose. And I love to say we are championing a new era of, because in my first incarnation as a businesswoman, I was working with musicians and monetizing art. And now I say I want to monetize essence. That's what I want to monetize. And that's what I'm excited to transmit. So I want to work with women, and I am working already with women who are devoted to taking the time to say, who am I? Why am I here? And then when they have that clarity, let's build your engine around that and beam that to the world. So that's where I'm at today.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And what we'll do is we'll have all your social
Edges.
links below. So anybody who's listening who wants to reach out to you, all the links will be below the podcast.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, it was just such a pleasure having you on today. So for the person listening, just notice what stayed with you today. Perhaps there was a part that felt familiar. Maybe there was something that was quietly uncomfortable. And that's usually where the truth is sitting. So just get curious. Thanks for
Yes.
listening.